Hare So we have a plan. And you notice there's two of us sitting here. We decided we're going to have an argument. Because that will be something you'll all remember. Just kidding.
Govinda, Gopala Nanda Lal. Krishna Govinda, Govinda, Gopala Nanda Lal.
I was thinking about reading and discussing a little bit from the Bhagavatam, from 4th Canto, chapter 30, text number 8.
Narayanam namaskrityam namaschaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye vedi ramayaneschaiva purane bharate tata adavante chamadye chahari sarvatra giyate mukam karodi vachalam bangum langayate girim Yet kripa tamaham vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Granth Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 30, verse number 8. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Vadam Vinidvam Vadam Vinidvam Bhadram Vo Vadam Vinidvam Bhadram Vo Yuyam Me Nripanandanaha Yuyam Me Nripanandanaha Soradin Apritag Dharmas So Ardena Pritag Dharmas Tushtoham Suridena Vaha Tushtoham Suridena Vaha Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Varam Vinidvam Bhadram Vo Yuyam Me Nripanandanaha Tushtoham Suridena Vaha Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Varam Vinidvam Bhadram Vo Yuyame Nityanandanaha Sohardena Pritadharmas Tushtoham Sovidena Vaha. Any Matajis? Varam Vinitvam Bhadravo Yuyame Nityanandanaha Sohardena Pritadharmas Tushtoham Sovidena Vaha. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Varam, benediction, Vinidvam, ask, Bhadram, good fortune, Vaha, of you, Yuyam, you, may, from me, Nirpanandanaha, O sons of the King, Soradena, my friendship, Apritak, non-different, Dharmaha, occupation, Tushtaha, pleased, Aham, I, Sovidena, by friendship, Vaha, of you. So before we read the translation, I have a question for all of you. What if Shri Radha Gopinath decided to start speaking to all of us just now, and they were to offer you a benediction, whatever you would like? Raise your hand, how many of you would like that? Does that sound good? So this is what happened basically to the Prachetas, that the Lord spoke to them. He was very pleased with them. They'd done some summer camp festival or something. And the Lord was very pleased with them, so He offered them a benediction. But the question comes, why was He pleased with them? What did they do that pleased Him? So this verse describes that. Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear sons of the King, I am very much pleased by the friendly relationships among you. All of you are engaged in one occupation, devotional service. I'm so pleased with your mutual friendship that I wish you all good fortune. Now you may ask a benediction of me. Please repeat. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear sons of the King, I'm very much pleased by the friendly relationships among you. All of you are engaged in one occupation, devotional service. I'm so pleased with your mutual friendship that I wish you all good fortune. Now you may ask a benediction of me. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Since the sons of King Prachanabharishat were all united in Krishna consciousness, the Lord was very pleased with them. Each and every one of the sons of King Prachanabharishat was an individual soul, but they were united in offering transcendental service to the Lord. The unity of the individual souls attempting to satisfy the Supreme Lord or rendering service to the Lord is real unity. In the material world, such unity is not possible. Even though people may officially unite, they all have different interests. In the United Nations, for instance, all the nations have their individual national ambitions, and consequently, they cannot be united. Disunity between individual souls is so strong within this material world that even in a society of Krishna consciousness, members sometimes appear disunited due to their having different opinions and leaning toward material things. Actually, in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be two opinions. There's only one goal, to serve Krishna to one's best ability. If there's some disagreement over service, such disagreement is to be taken as spiritual. Those who are actually engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be disunited in any circumstance. This makes the Supreme Personality of Godhead very happy and willing to award all kinds of benedictions to his devotees, as indicated in this verse. We can see that the Lord is immediately prepared to award all benedictions to the sons of King Prachanabarisha. Gora Graganya Ganagota Goladuharam Goranga Gura Tamagopyada Kopa Briksham Gopala Gadaratidam Iti Singha Gora Govinda Deshikavaram Satatam Namami Vamshakopatarubhischa Kripasindhuvyevacham Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I have a couple of other questions. First of all, does anybody feel sad that the program is getting over with now? Second question.
I'm also happy. I'm sad and I'm happy.
Because Maharaj is a Gaudiya Vaishnava.
Huh?
Because you're a Gaudiya Vaishnava.
No, I'm sad that it's ending and I'm happy that it's ending.
Is there anybody here, other than Maharaj, I think, who would like the festival to just never stop? Just keep going on.
Maybe we should argue about this.
We feel sad, especially when we start packing up the decorations and things, and we might feel that way, but it's necessary. Because if the festival were to always go on, then it wouldn't be a festival anymore. There would be some common thing. So if there's no feeling of separation, there's no anticipation to coming again next year, there's no feeling of sadness when we finish, then how can we look forward to the future? So I feel very blessed to come here, and we've gotten some chance to make some new friends with everybody, even though Maharaj wants to argue with me. I don't know what we're going to argue about. It would be kind of like a 200-pound giant wrestling with a 90-pound Hare Krishna weakling or something.
I'm the 90.
No.
We can argue about it.
They can't hear.
All right, we'll speak in the microphone. So, we were speaking something the last few days about friendship amongst devotees. In the Mahabharata, when Krishna goes as a messenger to Hastinapur, Duryodhana requests him to be on his side against the Pandavas. And Krishna tells him in a famous line, he says, Yastan dvesti samam dvesti yastananu samamana. He said, you don't understand, Duryodhana. He said that those persons who hate my devotees, they hate me. And whoever loves my devotees, they love me. So we can't separate Krishna from his devotees. And the festival really means the devotees. And if we feel some happiness in our heart from this program, that happiness is coming from Krishna in the heart. And it's there, according to this verse, because the Lord is pleased that the devotees are cooperating together. Because it's so easy just to quarrel and to find fault, want to argue about everything. But to come together and to cooperate is a very difficult thing. In my service, for many years, we've done research in different places in India, and sometimes we meet different sadhus and mahants, scholars and things. And I find it interesting. Sometimes we're a little nervous going there. I'm a Hare Krishna ISKCON devotee. Are they going to try to beat me up and kidnap me and brainwash me into some other group or something? But one thing that I find is many of them are very, very respectful and very appreciative of ISKCON. And one comment that I hear very often is how the devotees in ISKCON, how much devotion you all have for Srila Prabhupada. And how impressed they are that there's been so much cooperation amongst the devotees. So I just wanted to thank everybody here for that. I wanted to share with you a few instructions from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is from Srila Lochan Das Thakur's Chaitanya Mangal. And these are Mahaprabhu's final instructions to the residents of Navadvip when he was leaving to go to Jagannath Puri. And the devotees there are thinking maybe they're never going to see him again. So I thought these instructions might be also valuable for us to meditate on, since we don't have so many Bengali scholars here. Sing the verse, and you can chant Hare Krishna in response. Tomara takibe agya koribe bhavan Nirantara diva nishi koribe kirtan. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. The first thing that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said may not be very practical for all of us. He says, Tomara takibe. All of you stay here. We can't stay here. But it has another purport to it. We want to make community. And as we'll see in these verses, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is encouraging the devotees in basic principles of community. And the first thing that he says is Tomara takibe. I remember some years ago I met one sadhu in Vrindavan. And he told me, he said, I'm very impressed with the Videshi Bhaktas, with the foreign Hare Krishna devotees. He said, but there's only one fault that I see in them. He said, don't mind me saying. He said, but you never stay in one place. And that's not just the sannyasis and brahmacharis and preachers, but the grihastas. They're always shifting from one place to another. This is a basic principle of community. Tomara takibe. Stay where you're at. Mahaprabhu was saying, don't try to follow me. Just stay where you're at. If nobody stays, if there's no senior devotees, how can there be community? And it's an austerity to stay in one place. We'd like to travel. We'd like to travel with Maharaj, be able to serve him, go places, but someone should stay behind. Tomara takibe. Agya koribe pavana. And what you should do, I want you to follow my instruction. This is my instruction. Pavana means to nourish. You follow my instruction, you nourish my instruction. And what is my instruction? Nirantara diva nishi koribe kirtan. Day and night you should do kirtan. This is the foundation of our community. This is the reason why the Lord was pleased with the prachetas, because they could agree on who's going to lead the kirtan. They didn't have a big argument. I should sing. No, you sang last time. I should sing. The devotees can cooperate together in friendship. It's such a difficult thing in the material world that the Lord is so pleased that He appeared to the prachetas and told them, I'll give you whatever benediction you want. Just because they cooperated. Cooperation is such an important thing that pleases the Lord so much. And then Mahaprabhu tells the devotees in Navadvip, Harinama Bhakta Seva Kori Vestapa Edana Kori Jena Pade Sarvajan. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Sanskrit poetry, it's considered to be a fault if there's some repetition. So it might seem like in this next verse there's some repetition. Mahaprabhu was saying, do Harinam. But in the previous verse he just said, Nirantara Diva Nishi Koribe Kirtan. Do Kirtan day and night. But it's not a repetition because it's not just Harinam. He says, Harinama Bhakta Seva. You should serve the devotees. And how do you serve the devotees? By doing Kirtan. Ayendra Prabhu was serving Prabhupada and Prabhupada's mission all over the world, although he was just staying in Vrindavan. And when devotees were getting ready to leave their body in the hospice, Ayendra Prabhu would go there and do Kirtan for them. That's how we serve devotees. It's how we associate with devotees. Jagadananda Pandit in Prema Vivarta, he describes Sadhu Sangha Krishna Nam Ei Matra Chai Sansara Janetaya Kono Vastu Nai Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. He says there's only two things I require. Sadhu Sangha and Krishna Nam. Because how do I get Krishna Nam? By Sadhu Sangha. When we start associating with the devotees, they invite us, come for the kirtan. Just like 2 nights ago, I saw many yoga people who come from the city. Devotees had invited. So Sadhu Sangha, Krishna Nam. And from Sadhu Sangha, we get Krishna Nam. From Krishna Nam, what do we get? We get deeper Sadhu Sangha. When we have deeper Sadhu Sangha, what do we get? We get deeper Krishna Nam. When we get deeper Krishna Nam, what do we get? Even deeper Sadhu Sangha. So these two, in cause and effect, you can't have one without the other. So Mahaprabhu is saying that Koribe Palana, Agya Koribe Palana, if you want to follow my instruction, Harinama Bhakta Seva, Koribe Stapana. Stapana means to establish. It says Stapana E Dharma. You establish my movement in this way. Through two things. Harinama Bhakta Seva. Do Kirtan and serve the devotees. And serving the devotees is such a wonderful thing that Nimai Pandit, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is Krishna himself. He used to go to the bank of the Ganga and he would take the devotees' clothes and fold them nicely when they're taking bath. Sometimes he would clean them. And he was so eager to serve the Vaishnavas, to teach us how valuable Vaishnava Seva is. So Mahaprabhu says, Harinama Bhakta Seva, Koribe Stapana E Dharma. You'll establish my movement by Harinama and Bhakta Seva. Kori Jaina Tadi Sarva Jan. And then he says, just in case the devotees in Serbia have any doubt, he says, Jaina Tadi Sarva Jan. This instruction is for everyone, for all of my followers, in all times and all places. And then he says, Nirmatsara antare hoide sarva jana sabbe sabakara koro arada. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So he gave so many different yamas. Now he's giving a niyama, so many positive injunctions. Now he's saying something negative. Nirmatsara antara hoibe sarvaja. Don't have any envy in your hearts. For this Sangha to work, Mahaprabhu is telling them when he's leaving, I'm going to disappear now, the festival's over. Of my Bala Leela, I'm going to go, and everyone's crying. So many positive injunctions, Harinama Bhakta Seva, but he says, Nirmatsara antara. Don't be envious of each other. Srila Prabhupada founded this movement on love and trust. And if we contemplate the matter, I've analyzed, I have 4 different principles which I think are the foundation of Srila Prabhupada's movement. Prabhupada loved the devotees. The symptom of love is trust. If you love someone, you trust them. And the symptom of trust is responsibility. If you love your child, and the child comes and says, so Dad, can I have the keys to the car? Do you trust them? But trust is a two-way street. It has to be earned. And if they've been coming home at 2 o'clock in the morning, you may say, no, you can't have the car until you come home at 10 o'clock at night, or whatever time you may set. So, love means trust, but trust is something that we earn. And from trust comes responsibility. And Srila Prabhupada, if you read the biographies of some of the early devotees who joined the movement, like Shyamasundar Prabhu, Prabhupada sent Shyamasundar and the devotees to London to preach. They didn't have Bhakti Shastri degrees. I don't think they'd actually finished reading Bhagavad Gita. And Shyamasundar Prabhu had just gotten out of jail for selling drugs. They weren't like Srila Prabhupada's sannyasi godbrothers who Srila Bhaktisiddhanta sent to London. But they had something very special and very powerful. They had this responsibility. They had the love of Srila Prabhupada. They had Prabhupada's trust. They had the responsibility. And that responsibility then give forth to a fourth degree, fourth quality, which is empowerment. And this is the purport of our movement. Bhaktivinoda Thakur begins his Harinam Chintamani by speaking about how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat and listened to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and learned Mukti Tattva from him. He sat and listened to Roy Ramananda and heard Sadhya Sadhana Tattva. He listened to Haridas Thakur and learned Nam Tattva. He's a Supreme Personality of Godhead. He knows everything. But to teach us about community, the community means not like an old boys club. What is that? I saw a bumper sticker once that said, old age and treachery will always overcome youth and skill. It was an old person's kind of bumper sticker. We don't want a society like that, an old boys club, where we want to try to keep all the empowerment, all the position to ourselves. But one of the things for me that made me so happy in my heart was seeing all the young people here in this community. And it's my sincere hope, I don't see so many of them here right now, but it's my sincere hope that next year, the program that all these old fogies, all the old devotees, they can come and do kirtan. And the young devotees who have some inspiration and some new ideas, some fresh blood, that they can take up that responsibility. Because this is a movement of Srila Prabhupada, this is a movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's a movement, nirmatsar antarahoibi. We shouldn't have envy. And we see these young people, they have more inspiration. They can do things that we can't do. They know the young people better than we know them. So they should be empowered. If we don't empower them, if we don't give them some responsibility, then they'll just play all day. And then we'll complain about them. Just see, they just play all day, they're useless. We should give them some responsibility. Urmila Mataji, she did her PhD thesis on how it is that some children in our movement stayed on to become devotees and many of them didn't. And she found a few different principles that the children who stayed in our movement and went on to become devotees, stayed to be devotees, that they had in common. And one of them was that those children were given responsibilities. You see this in India. It's a big difference from the West. In the West, children never grow up. They're just taught to have fun. And we think this is the purpose of life, just to give them toys. And I've gone to people's houses where when the child is 1 year old, they have a whole room just full of toys for the child. You come back a few years later, the parents' bedroom, the living room, the kitchen, every room is full of toys. Because that's the purpose for children in the West. And then they go to school and they think the whole purpose of life is to have fun, with my girlfriend, with this and that. And they find in America, a high percentage of the college students go home to see their mother once a week to give her their laundry because they don't know how to wash their clothes. And a lot of them don't know how to cook. Maybe some ramen noodles and that's about it. They're useless. Whereas they found that if you take a 4 or 5-year-old child who's grown up in the Amazon jungle, recently there was some children who survived a plane crash for 30 days. They were local children. And you give that 4-year-old child nothing. He goes into the forest naked. That 4-year-old child, this is a non-vegetarian comment, but he can catch some fish, he can make a fire, he can make a shelter at the age of 4 or 5 years old. Because they're given responsibility in cultures like that. In India, it's a common thing. You see a 5 or 6-year-old child with a stick in their hand, and they've got 8 or 10 cows that they're taking care of. And they have fun. They play. Believe me, they play. But they have some responsibility. And they feel some encouragement in it. They become empowered. So this is community. It's a very important principle for us. So Nimatsara Antarai. Mahaprabhu was telling the devotees, don't be envious of the young people. Like the sticker that I saw, old age and treachery will always overcome youth and skill. Don't be a nasty, envious old person. Be a kind of person who loves and encourages and wants to empower the young people. I saw once a, trying to remember actually. Oh, I'll tell you a different story. There was a group of Gurukuli girls once who came from Mayapur to Jagannath Puri. And they asked us to take them around on parikrama. And so we went to Gopinath temple and I gave a talk and told some probably really bad jokes and whatever. And afterwards we were walking down the road with these little girls, and these girls are like 8 or 10 years old. I think the oldest was 12 years old. One of the little girls, as we were walking, she looked up at me, she said, Prabhuji, when I grow up, I want to be just like you. And I stopped. And I said, no. And they were all a little frightened. And I said, no, you should be better than me. Because you grew up in a devotee family. And I come from a very bad background. And when I said that to that little girl, you should see. And it was something, I don't know if she remembers that anymore, but I remember that. I remember that moment of encouraging and empowering that little girl. And that's really what our movement is about. So Mahaprabhu was saying, Namatsara Anta, don't have envy in your heart. Be ready to encourage and empower all the devotees. And he says, Hoibe sarvajan, sabi sabakara man koro aradhana. With all your hearts, you should worship and serve each other. This is Mahaprabhu's final instruction to all the devotees. And if we follow those instructions, then Mahaprabhu is always with us. So, those are some thoughts I wanted to share with all of you. And I want to thank all the devotees here very much, especially the organizers and the cooks who, I was so impressed with making pizza so many days in a row for all the devotees. I hope everybody here gives all their blessings to the cooks, gives all your blessings to the organizers who work so hard. And I saw that it was hanging this the garland makers, which were so artistic and amazing garlands. And just everything and how everybody cooperated and worked together. For me, I really learned a lot. I've learned a lot from watching all of you, how you cooperate together and how you love each other. It's a very, very inspiring example. And I want to thank everybody here. And again, I want to ask this benediction that you bless me, that I can always keep friendship with the devotees. And I want to thank especially Sachinanda Maharaj and Krishna Chaitanya Maharaj for tolerating me. I'm happy Krishna Chaitanya Maharaj doesn't have his danda with him today, or probably whack me in the head. Wish it be for my blessing, my benediction, my good fortune. But thank you, Maharaj.
For not bringing my danda.
being so encouraging for everybody. And I saw how Maharaj is also empowering all the devotees, and this is the mood also of Satchidananda Maharaj, and how he's trying to engage, encourage everybody, and Krishna Chaitanya Maharaj through his drama, trying to just practically get us all to feel something. It's been a really, really wonderful Sangha. And thank you all so much. Samaveda Bhakta Vinda Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Premanande, Vanchakalpa Vidubhishcha, Vivasindhu Patitanam Pavane, Vaishnavi. I don't think Maharaj can argue with any of that. What do you think?
You don't know. What a fault finder. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Vishatarine Mancha Kalpa Taruyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Godesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I would like to make a little experiment. The context is, first of all, it's really wonderful. We've been having this retreat in which we can say the focus has been on remembering the Lord, remembering Krishna, and we may want to say that in that sense it is a true retreat. Retreat not in the sense like the military running away from the battlefield, but sort of coming together, re-establishing community, and doing what I like to call in-reach. In recent years, we hear the term outreach. What would you say in Serbian language for outreach? There's many different words. Yeah, it's always like that, isn't it? But you get the idea, yes? Outreach. Going out. I think we like to use this word in English because although Srila Prabhupada used the word preaching a lot, some of us tend to cringe a little when we hear that word. You know the word cringe? It's sort of like, oh, It has some negative connotations. Don't preach to me, Prabhu. Yeah. And it has quite a negative connotation in English, in modern society, in America at least. We both come from the Wild West of America. Don't get me started on that place. But, yeah, bumper stickers. Everybody, this is off the topic, but in America, one form of outreach that people do is they put signs on their cars to express something that they want the world to know. Bumper stickers. You don't see them here in Europe. People are much more, sort of, they don't. But in America, it's like everyone is, we say in English, in your face. Anyway, so we have this idea of outreach. What we've been having is, I like to call it inreach. And to do outreach without having inreach is not going to work. It may work for a while, but after some time it's going to fizzle. It's going to fizzle out. It means it's going to sort of fade out. It's not going to. It won't be sustained. Without community, which we just heard is based on love, which is based on trust. What was the third?
Responsibility.
Which is complemented by or requiring responsibility, and all of which is developed within a culture of the fourth principle. Empowerment, yes. Okay, so that's something we can take with us, right? Love, trust, responsibility, and empowerment. So all of that together then can bring us the strength, the vision, the everything, the wherewithal to do wonderful things in outreach. And you mentioned Shyamasundar Prabhu. Whenever I see Shyamasundar Prabhu, I'm always amazed. He just always has this childlike spirit, which he's sustained over all these years. He always tells about how when he was with Srila Prabhupada, it was always an adventure. You never knew what was going to happen. You never knew what Prabhupada was going to say. And Prabhupada was full of jokes, and it was fun to be with Prabhupada. He always would say like that. But I think, and adventure was the spirit of the outreach. That's what he would try to, he tries to communicate to us, that it's an adventure. You're venturing out. What's the word for adventure in Serbian? It's one of, I should always ask one person, because when I hear 10 people's answer, all I hear is blah blah blah.
Avantura.
Avantura. Okay.
Avantura.
Yes.
Avantura. Yes. So it's an avantura. Now, so I want to do a little experiment, and the reference point for this experiment, there's two reference points from tradition. And that the first reference point is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prediction, which is in the Chaitanya Bhagavata, Prithividyache Jata Nagaradigram Sarvatra Prachar Hoibe Mora Nam. You know this verse? Prithiviteyachi jata nagara adi grama. Nagara means a town, grama means a village, nagara adi means beginning with towns. Nagara, sarvatra, everywhere, prachar, there will be the preaching, prachar. Hoibe, there will be morana of my name. So that's one sort of backdrop, cultural backdrop, or traditions backdrop. And the second one, many, if not all of you, have heard this anecdote, this story of Srila Prabhupada in New York prior to his mission developing, early after he arrived. He meets a man in a park and they get chatting. This man is, what is he, a bus driver or something? And they're chatting and Prabhupada says to the man in the course of their conversation, I have books, I have temples, I have so many books, so many temples, so many devotees, and they're all part of this mission which I'm doing. Really? Where is all of this? It is, we are only separated by time. Only time is separating us from, okay? So that's another little background, and what I would like that we do now is to, we say in English, cut loose. That means don't hold back. And imagine what could be of the Krishna consciousness mission. We could pick a time. We could say 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Maybe not too much longer than that, because we'd all like to still be here to see what is going to happen. So I'm going to start this off, and then I want to hear your fantasies. You can fantasize as freely as you want about how this Krishna consciousness movement might be expanded in your own neighborhood, in your town, your city, in maybe it's Serbia, Croatia, wherever you are, or the whole world. But I want to start this off by imagining that we have in the Krishna consciousness movement many, many, many gurus who are very accomplished. They're very learned in Shastra, like Madavananda Prabhu. He's so learned in Shastra, it's amazing. But they're not only learned, they're able to communicate the essence of this Shastra. And these many gurus are not, dare I say, only male. Uh-oh. Should we argue about that? Hare Krishna. That woke everyone up. And these gurus are inspiring devotees in so many ways to practice Krishna consciousness in their homes and outside their homes, such that we have indeed communities which include brahmacharis.
We're not against brahmacharya.
We're not against brahmacharis. They include grihastas. They include vanaprasthas. And they include sannyasis. And they include cows. And there might also be some dogs and cats, you know, and other animals. So that means there are farms, there are schools. I should stop there because I don't want to take away some ideas that you might have. But do you see, do you get the idea, what I'm suggesting? We can just kind of imagine so many things. Why do I want to do this? Because I think it's a useful exercise for stretching us to think, okay, well that's maybe beyond reality, but how could I, or how could we, take steps in the direction of that vision? How could we take actual steps, like, you know, with our feet? How could we actually do something for Krishna, for Srila Prabhupada? Okay, that's, yes, please.
I have a fantasy that when everything becomes Krishna conscious, you'll be able to go to the shopping mall and they'll be playing kirtan. And you will go down to the aisles of the shopping center and they'll be selling mridangas, kartals, and different devotional paraphernalia. And there'll be devotees or people who are making handmade clothes, not just big companies and things. And you'll see devotees doing kirtan through the shopping mall sometimes. That's my fantasy.
Will they be using money?
Preferably not.
Nice.
I have a fantasy.
Yes, please.
I have a fantasy that Krishna consciousness and Krishna himself is integrated in art, in hearts of just an ordinary people. That he's not some unusual, exotic god from East. But people just love him and they put him all over, like on clothes, in music, their works, in their art, in writings, whatever, that he becomes like something like
That's really important.
Batman, Superman character, something like that. That's my fantasy.
Nice, thank you. Yes, done here.
Hare Krishna. First of all, I want to thank both of you for the most inspiring lessons of all these kinds. And we all have problems with politicians.
Politicians?
Yes, they're making our life miserable and they're going down and down. And I have friends, whenever I talk with him about politicians, I'm getting angry and he's saying, no, I'm always like a curse. I'm always saying, may you all become Krishna consciousness. Because if they become Krishna consciousness, the whole society will go in that direction, and it will be easier for all of us to live our life on that position. So this is my fantasy, to all politicians become Krishna consciousness.
That sounds like a very nice curse.
Yudhishthira Maharaj was a politician.
Yeah. Yes, good. Thank you. Yes, Anuradha. The ladies have nice hands. What about the gents?
They already have what their fantasies about it. Maybe. Yeah, for me.
They're always in a fantasy world. Huh?
No, it's like, I think they have it more in this world, so they don't use their imagination as much. Maybe. I really would like to see Krishna consciousness integrated, like in every aspect of modern life, so that people can relate. Like you said, like if accomplished sannyasis and accomplished female gurus also are spreading the knowledge of Krishna consciousness, then in a way that everyone can relate, and that not everyone feels like it has to be done only this way, but they can feel appreciation, and that's enough. I feel like sometimes there's very strong preaching, everyone needs to become in this life, now, and it is very important, but this path is not for everyone, but they can appreciate. And like the seed is in their heart, and Krishna will never forget this appreciation they showed for devotee or for the verse they heard from the scripture. So.
Nice, thank you.
I have a question regarding all this. That if the whole world becomes Krishna conscious, what about dress? Does that mean that some ladies who are Krishna conscious may be wearing burqas? Or some might be wearing bikinis? Is that okay? And how can it not be?
I don't think it's really very important.
In the song that we sang a few days ago, Jisteshame, Jisaveshame, Parideshame, Raho, Radharaman, Radharaman, Radharaman Kaho. There's a line that says, whatever, Vesha, whatever dress you have, whatever dress you have, just chant the name Radharaman. So that's there.
When we go to a village, whenever like this in Europe, we can always visit a Christian church or a temple, a building itself. We can go there and pray, and not we, but those who want to go there. And I was always dreaming about it, that it would be so nice to have in every village just something little for Krishna, so where we could just go and chant our rounds and just be with, maybe not even deities, but at least a picture of Krishna. It would be so nice to have it everywhere.
Nice, thank you.
And at Christmas we could go to the Christian churches.
At
Christmas we can go to the Christian churches and we are accepted. We can also attend and come out with kirtan. Not push our kirtan on them, respect their tradition, but also be friendly enough and the society is open enough that we can go and respect their tradition. And maybe one day they can come for Janmashtami.
That's a really interesting point. Didn't make an interjection. Historically, India is a really fascinating place. When the Muslims came, originally the Hindus who were there, they said, no problem, we're okay with Shaivites and Shaktas and Ganapatnis, and we also have no problem with you. We just like people, their character. And I heard that when the first Christians went to Vrindavan, they had a big problem they'd never experienced before. That the local sadhus, they would start telling them about Jesus, and the sadhus were so interested to hear about this. Well, tell me more, that's fascinating. And they would take their whole day, but they wouldn't become a Christian. They were so interested. And that's the culture I've seen in the villages in India. In Orissa, there's communities that have Jagannath deities. Every village in Orissa has Jagannath deities. And some communities for Rath Yatra, they have their own local Rath Yatra. It's the Muslim community who builds the carts. And they come together, and the Muslims, they come and observe Janmashtami with the devotees, and then they all go together to the churches to observe Christmas and that. And it's a community. It's not a problem. It's a good comment, Krishna.
There's something comes to my mind back to the point about having something like a temple or a shrine in every town, every village. I remember the late Vishwambar Goswami of the Radharaman community. Goswami means they're householders. A very, very, very nice Vaishnava who one time visited America, was preaching in America. There's another story related to that, but it's not related to our discussion. It's quite a funny story, but and true. But he would say, well, it would really be nice if all of the Vaishnavas in the world, all of the householders, I see you in America, you have a post box outside your house, which is visible from the road. So let all the Vaishnavas paint on their post box tilak mark. And then whenever someone goes by, they will see, oh, this is a Vaishnava. And then they can, feel free to knock on the door, and they will certainly be welcomed, and then it will be a nice meeting.
I don't know here in Serbia, but I've seen in other parts of Europe, like in Hungary and in Czech Republic, that in the fields, the field workers, simple people who are doing farming and things, they have little shrines like this sometimes in the middle of the field. You'll find a cross with Christ or something, and in the middle of the day they would come together and pray like that. They do that also in Serbia? Not so much?
Crossroads, right.
It'd be a nice thing to have something like that, a picture of Krishna.
Anurag, you had another.
No, just this is like very big fantasy and desire of mine, that traffic in Vrindavan is regulated in a way that there is no traffic, and that everyone just walks.
Oh my God.
Ooh, that's a radical idea.
I have hope in that regard. When I see Vrindavan, when I see the garbage and things which makes you want to cry,
Yes.
when I see devotees coming from the West, from places like Switzerland, and buying property, which I have mixed feelings about because it's driven the price of property up, and it's driven out a lot of the poor Brijbasis. Now, if you go to print, we print books in Delhi, and all the press workers sometimes are from Vrindavan, because they can't afford to live in Vrindavan, they're trying to get a job in Delhi. So that's not so nice. But on a positive side, I have hope that when those devotees from Switzerland and other places become more popular, become more prominent there, that the garbage will go, because they won't be able to tolerate it, those devotees, and maybe along with also
The problem at the moment is that so many Indian people are coming. It's a huge, like Vrindavan is a huge success. So many people from India are coming. Actually, Delhi people, Mumbai people are buying properties in Vrindavan.
With their SUVs?
Yes, yeah. I'm always saying if they can park right in front of Radharaman, that would be perfect.
Yeah.
They cannot.
One of my godbrothers was close with a tourist minister of Orissa, and he brought him to meet Bhaktadas Prabhu, your godbrother, once. Bhaktadas is a wealthy businessman and very expert in things, and so the tourist minister had a question for Bhaktadas. He said, what can we do to bring more Western tourists to India, to Jagannath Puri and to Orissa like that? And Bhaktadas gave him an answer which he was a little shocked by. He said, if you make the streets as clean as Singapore or Zurich, then they'll come. That's what you should do. He was a little...
But honestly, what I can say from what I see, Western devotees are trying so hard to keep Vrindavan clean, to feed cows, to take care of, like really they're doing their best to preserve the culture, and like they're really, really, really trying.
Western devotees have something to contribute. This is something we can contribute.
Yes,
We're good garbage men.
Yes, for sure.
Gents, we haven't heard from you yet. Yes, Bhakti Grant.
So, Krisna Ksetra Maharaj, my fantasy will be maybe a little unusual. Maybe it will sound like a science fiction, but we are
That's all
open
right.
people. I think we can speak what's on our mind. First of all, I would like to use your presence as was one of the leader of previously of Gauranga Bhajan Band, and Jai Guneshwara Prabhu's presence as a leader and is a founder of Nityananda Bhajan Band. In my mind is one fantasy to try to make with the kids, with our youngsters, Nityananda Kids and Junior Bhajan Band.
Ah.
That's the first.
Well, that's not science fiction. That's, you can do. Why
That's
not?
practical.
Yes, the first maybe not, but second is more like science fiction. That was just introduction. And second one is, as you said, to have a place where brahmacharis, grihastas, vanaprasthas, and sannyasis can live together.
And even dogs.
And even dogs, yes, and cats.
I like that.
Yeah, I have a friend who lives with the cats. He doesn't have a family, just 5 or 6 cats. He's here near Srila Prabhupada, and it's very inspiring to me how he takes care about these creatures. So we will facilitate him as well, hopefully. And Satchidananda Maharaj told a few days back that he was thinking in his old age to live here somewhere in Vojvodina, this part of Serbia. And I was thinking it will be such a nice service if we can offer to our spiritual masters when they get older. I mean, now all the devotees think Krisna Ksetra Maharaj and Satchidananda Swami, they are still like young boys, but when they get really old, then we can maybe facilitate them here. And
another 30 years from now.
yes, not 30 years from now, when they gone already, but before that. Yeah. And I want to share something which maybe will help the other devotees in their fantasies to make them real. Just maybe 5 or 6 years back, we was not able, how we said, to gather ourselves to register ISKCON in Serbia. We was prohibited by the law. We was illegal for so many years. But a group of devotees came together and they really did a tough job. You know, they cannot sleep sometimes. And they find a way, after a few rejections, to be accepted by the government. And we are now Vaishnava community officially registered. And another fantasy also which came true, it's printing of the Bhagavad Gita in Serbia after 30 years. I mean, in every normal yatra, it's like say goodbye or hello, very easy to do, but in Serbia it was really job. Again, you know, many sleepless nights, working from morning to evening, many unexpected obstacles, but still the devotees went through it and they did it. So it is great encouraging for me, and I think it's my duty to share with all the devotees if they are really fearful before starting something, or should I be successful or not. I went through it. I have many years of fears and struggling, and many other devotees I'm working with, but somehow became successful at the end by the mercy of the devotees of the Lord, of course. And I think we should encourage each other, even with most crazy ideas and fantasies, what we want to do for the Lord and for the devotees, that together we can do it. And that's from my side.
Very good. Thank you. Yes. Mataji, but yes, Darshan, because it's been many ladies, but we'll come to you, yes.
Yeah, real gentle. Ladies first. So, I am working on TV for the last 35 years.
Little down there.
Sorry. Yes. I am working on a TV for the last 35 years. Even when I lived in a temple, I was invited to participate in few serials. So I have one desire, maybe it will sound more science fiction than Bhakti Ganta said, to make at least one or maybe few movies about something from Srimad Bhagavatam, some maybe other stories. It would be great, really. That was the desire also of our Govinda Hari Prabhu, to make some movie, but real, grandiose movie about Srila Prabhupada. That is my desire. Maybe it sounds really, I don't know.
Wonderful. Let it happen.
Maybe I can ask all of your blessings.
And you said that the youth are involved.
Sorry.
The youth. Get the youth involved.
Yeah, get the youth involved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mataji, my memory is failing me. Your name? Huh?
My dream is that, and what I feel it's like an arrow in the target, is that all devotees, what I feel like devotees, not just people who are in one room when something is happening, like Hare Krishna, but all souls who are attracted somehow to Krishna are always protected from all sides by such big-hearted and deep relationships among devotees that there is no way that they feel discouraged, disinspired, and most of all that they don't belong there, that there is no chance for them to continue because of some differences in approaches and styles of practicing. So my fantasy is that everyone is inspired so much, but by such deep relationships amongst devotees that there is no way to feel something, like this inspiration or whatever. So this is what I feel, it's arrow in the target for everything.
Bravo.
And I
Devotees are starting to get into it. Yeah, let's do this.
My fantasy is similar to Sita's. I hope that in 5 years we'll be a society in which every person will feel supported, no matter how different is and how big her capacity to serve is. I think that compared to the past, we came to the point that we are not so judgmental as we used to be, but we still are not society in which everyone is supported. And especially I hope that we'll make atmosphere for young people to develop and blossom their capacities to the full, because I feel very much pain when I see how big their abilities are, and we cannot make atmosphere in which they have developed, I hope that will be changed and that they have chances to associate and cooperate not just on the summer camps but even through the year.
Wonderful, thank you. Sudevi, isn't it? Sudevi?
Yes, Maharaj, Sudevi Velasi. I want to join the ladies, of course, but I want, like in my vision, my purpose, my dream, ISKCON community is about, like when I came to this place 8 years ago and I got this instruction, and from my husband, it helped me a lot. Don't change, but add your God. So, and I wish that in our society, the younger generation devotees, when they come, They don't try to change the culture and the standard what was from before. And they support elder devotees and their ways of practicing their Krishna consciousness. But the elder devotees also support younger generation. And they help them and they all kinds of ideas how to preach and how to contribute. And that's the most important thing, that we don't fight. Especially that senior devotees, they don't fight in the presence of younger devotees.
Whoops.
So that's like kind of my ideal vision of our society. And then, of course, the care and the support, and that everyone has a place.
Especially the sannyasis shouldn't pick on poor grihastas in front of everybody.
That's right.
Something like that, okay.
That's right.
But we can give this example because we have the most beautiful culture existing in the material world, obviously. And we know that nobody is talking about ISKCON like, oh, okay, ISKCON, the bigger number of divorces, the bigger number of abuses, the bigger number of fights or whatever is there. And of course they have this Harinams, there. So my vision is that people really take seriously devotees for their beauty, for their culture, for their wisdom, their open hearts.
Wow, it's a big vision. It's better than science fiction. Maybe, Ojasvi, you want to say something? Anything? Your wife said everything. Okay. Avadut,
Hare Krishna. So, I don't know if I should speak this what I told, but in the devotee communities where I'm here in Konstanz, and some other places, I see that young generation devotees, they become educated and then they get some job outside of the God. But my dream is that those devotees somehow or other become educated to become preachers, actually.
To become?
Preachers.
Preachers, okay.
To get some education, that they get some education and then they become engaged maybe in the sponsored play, they go to colleges, to prisons and different places. That they then they don't have to get jobs, but they are sponsored and they, like.
That sounds like science fiction to me.
No. Prabhupada said that the third generation of devotees, they will be very, very powerful preachers, but if they go outside and burn, it's lost. So I don't know.
Thank you. Yes, very good. Maybe taking that a step further, just being a little bit fantasizing, the government or governments have come to realize that Krishna consciousness is a good thing for society. Somehow or other, some leaders have come to realize that it's good for them, and therefore they are now, I'm now speaking like when you make affirmations, you put it in the present tense, it's already happened. So the government is funding preaching, and in many different ways. How are they doing it? One way they're doing it is they're funding schools for training Vaishnavas, because they see that Vaishnavas is not a sectarian thing. That there are, there are Muslim Vaishnavas, there are Orthodox Christian Vaishnavas, there are, all sorts of Vaishnavas, and they're all doing so much good for society. We have to fund them. Okay, how do we do it? Education. How do we fund education? We have schools. How do we do that? And so on. That's my addition to the fantasy. Yes.
Hare Krishna. I also have a fantasy. It's a little bit philosophical, maybe, I don't know. this is okay. Usually I see devotees, they have certain limits in collaboration, and they divide on usually two. One group is like a Smarta-like, and another group is Sahajya-like. So certain devotees, they get carried away with rules and regulations are the only legitimate criteria of collaboration. So then other devotees, they get carried away with spontaneous relationships as the criteria of collaboration. So I wish they would all find a middle path to design kind of philosophy, I don't know, to find a middle path to genuinely collaborate, to not get carried away with both extremes.
That sounds, I like that. Thank you. Jasi Prabhu now has something he wants to share. It's going to be something about kirtan. Should be kirtan on every street corner. No?
No. I mean, it's beautiful. Thank you very much. I mean, I just one thing came to me, what I experienced. I just remembered that when Devahuti asked Kapila Devi, how can I practice spiritual life happily? And he said 4 things, very beautiful things, which they're very true. And Kapila Devi said, first thing is to perform your swadharma with full Shakti, he said. You need to work through your abilities, your duties, your potentials, your talents with full Shakti, he said. Then he said, you need to, for the second thing, he said, you need to deeply respect what you got by the mercy of the Lord in your life. The treasures which you have in your life. Then third thing, he said, you have to avoid what doesn't belong to you. And the fourth thing, he said, you need to work with those who give you knowledge, like the spiritual master. So this is something, but then I can share, really it's working, really working. That we become complete when I mean, whenever I come to some place, what I see a lot of beautiful talents and a lot of beautiful potentials. Everybody has something very special inside. And I would like so much that, how to say, that we find some way, that is like my dream, that we find some way that help each other, to inspire each other to experience and to discover their treasures, everybody in society, and that they work on them, bring them to perfection, and together offer just Krishna. This is something what I would like to contribute from my side, and especially Kirtan makes this possible because it's opening the heart and really brings out these treasures from each of us. We're like small puzzles in the big picture. That we all become like make beautiful picture with each puzzle. If one puzzle is missing, the whole picture is ruined.
Yes, very nice. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Rasagari.
Hare Krishna. I have one which is practical and connected with all of these devotees said, and in line with Srila Prabhupada. But before that, I would like to say there was an interview in Croatia, and some 10 or 12 years ago, we made a huge interview. Many people, how to say when they ask a question, which is the worst quality in the nation, people. I think it's referred to all Balkan states. And the answer is that people are very envious. And now I'm going to Srila Prabhupada. There was a morning walk in India, or conversation with some Indians, and they pressed Srila Prabhupada. They said, like, You said you want to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. How do you do it practically? He was thinking for a half a minute. And then he said, I think it's relevant, especially in these countries, to massively distribute prasad. And this is also for envious people very good, medicine. So I think it's also very practical, because in a few years, if we are really struggling, we can do it. We start a little bit, and more, especially now in these days when Boga is more expensive. People will appreciate free meals. And I know in Croatia, when there is a 1st May, this celebration of work, also. The town sponsors some free meal, and so many people, especially those who are retired, who don't have big pensions, they come, and they really, and of course they like our prasadam, and we like prasadam, we like to distribute prasadam. And my vision is that we have such massive prasadam distribution that all other things we taught, we imagine will be also fulfilled by that.
Maharaj, do you think he's subtly indicating it is time for breakfast?
Not so subtly.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, thank you for including me. Now I'm inspired to say something. Yeah. So it's a few things, but basically one is that we become like a superior society by character, not by philosophy and technicalities and presenting so many details. And that includes also that we are society for Krishna consciousness, international, that has very wide borders, that includes many divisions, because like we had the branches of three of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but it seems that these branches doesn't communicate. They're like mostly fighting and criticizing each other. But I would like that we have a consciousness that we don't do this anymore, that from our side we are thinking, okay, yes, from far Ritviks or this and that we said like, okay, we are all one society, and we just put our weapons down and we start to appreciate each other and tolerate the differences. And one more thing, Madhavananda Prabhu, you quoted, like stay home, stay where you are, or something like this, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said. Tomara takive. And there is also something like I heard from one of you, this stane stita, is also in Srimad Bhagavatam, like stay, stane stita. Yeah, so some devotees elaborate this to prove some points about dress code and like this, but I'm also thinking like, yes, technically, I would like to see a ministry of common sense in our GBC department.
You can be the GBC member for that.
I will volunteer. And yeah, just sometimes I think we are too much in our own world with our own details from Shastra. Like we are enslaved by not to just to strictly follow something, but kind of losing the essence. I mean, not to criticize, but sometimes I would like that we have somebody. This person maybe even shouldn't be a devotee, should be a friend. Like say, okay, you guys, but if you do this, that's really not. It will hurt you. And this also includes that we are honest with our own dirty laundry and our own dark history. So we said like, okay, let's be honest. And I think the world will fall in love with such people who are very truthful, and they show superior character. Not in competition way, but yeah, like divine character.
Bravo, bravo. So perhaps we're kind of coming to a healthy end to this session.
What about Bhadaseta Prabhu?
Yes, what about Bhadaseta Prabhu, please? What is his vision?
Quiet man behind the curtain. Watching.
Do you have any fantasies about the future?
Does devotee have more taste for serving each other? I don't know, this simple thing.
Flying microphone.
A flying microphone, yes.
I can do still.
That's giving you exercise, right? So, I want to thank all of you for this session. I think, what do you think? Was this a good idea it was an experiment, and we kind of got our imaginations going, but there's some kind of realism. Huh?
It was brilliant. It was a brilliant idea. Wasn't it brilliant?
Yeah.
For sure.
It sort of brings out something which, I don't know. Yeah, there's some magic there, I think, that's going in a good direction. I want to hand it over to Madhavamuni Prabhu, but before I do that, I want to offer my personal thanks, gratitude, specifically to Madhavamuni Prabhu and his good wife, whose name I also always forget, Kishori, and their son, two sons, who have made it all possible that we are here. Yeah, so without further ado, thank you all. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Bhakti Vaishnavavrinda ki jai. Serbian Retreat 2023 ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premananda.
His Holiness Krisna Ksetra Maharaj ki jai. His Grace Madhavananda Prabhu ki jai. First of all, thank you for saying this, and thank you for making this possible. I honestly feel grateful for devotees who comes here. Actually, my understanding is if you bring all this number of devotees and gurus and speakers and put them on the empty field, this is already 95% of success. So our contribution in 5% that we have something cooking and some equipment. This is 5% of the festival, and yeah, it's. But the set will tell you it's not so easy. Of course, now we have to pack, and I mean so many details. But yeah, I just see that the real value are all of you who comes year after year, despite all our mistakes and all our accommodation.
You made some mistakes?
Yeah, I forgot so many things. I am forgetting everything.